reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. MMO Reporter's coverage of PAX East 2012 is brought to you by our exclusive sponsor, Squarespace. So I am here with Fernando Paez, and we are here to talk about DDO. Big expansion coming up pretty soon.
That's right. Menace of the Underdark, DDO's first ever expansion, is coming this summer on June 25th. We're super excited. We're here at PAX East. It's all about D&D and Loth. Demon Queen Loth right here in front of us. It's a really exciting show for us. We're revealing for the first time a peek at how things will be in the new expansion.
Well, let's go take a look.
All right. So we are here taking a look at first look at Dungeons & Dragons Online's new expansion that's going to be coming out this summer. The expansion releases on June 25th, and it's entitled Menace of the Underdark. So today, for the first time here at PAX, we're revealing a little bit of the actual build for the expansion release, and we have a taste of some of the content areas that players are going to be able to go to, as well as look at a handful of the new monsters and a few abilities of the Druid class as well. So that's what we're hoping to cover today. So we're starting here in the harbor in Stormreach, which is one of the places, of course, players spend a lot of time in the early game in DDO. And this is also where we last left our heroes in terms of this storyline, which is the storyline that's going to connect the Eberron game world to the Forgotten Realms game world. So this, where we last left our friends here in Eberron, they had gone into Khyber to face off with the Spinner of Shadows. The Spinner of Shadows is the Eberron aspect of Lolth. So this spider, half dark elf demon, a very powerful demon called the Spinner of Shadows, who is an Eberron version of Lolth, who is a very famous goddess in the Forgotten Realms space, who is worshipped by the Drow of the Underdark. So where we left things, a passageway had been created from the prison where the Spinner of Shadows was kept in Khyber, the underworld of Eberron, that was open to the Demon Web. So we're going to go into the Demon Web and show you a little taste of the Demon Web, which is where the first place outside of Eberron that the players are going to get to go. The Demon Web is like the beginning taste of somewhere else other than Eberron. It's also where the story is going to wind up, because we have to go through the Demon Web to connect over to Faerun, the Forgotten Worlds land that we're going to be heading to. But we don't start there in terms of the story once we get to Forgotten Realms. But we have to travel there. So to get to Forgotten Realms, we travel through the underworld of Eberron, Khyber, into the Demon Web, which is this space that we're looking at here. The Demon Web is like the space between worlds, right? It is the abyss between different universes that joins them all together. It's also a little bit like an energy that's always consuming parts of worlds and breaking them apart. And it is also, of course, the home of Lolth herself. This is where she really dwells. This is where she lives, not in Faerun proper, even though she is worshipped by the Drow of the Underdark. This is her home plane in the Demon Web. So there's a lot of meaning to being here in this Demon Web space. So in order to get, again, to the Forgotten Realms, we're going to travel through here, eventually come out the other underworld, the one in Forgotten Realms called the Underdark. Pretty famous, that one. And then we're going to eventually emerge in the land of Coromir near a village called Evening Star. Okay, a lot of different lore locations and stories, but those players that know the Forgotten Realms stories and canon will certainly know a lot of those locations, and we'll be excited to get to go there. So in this space, you can get a little bit of a sense of what the environments are like. It's the same environment that we depicted in the CG trailer at the end of Update 13. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of new monsters that come that will appear in the expansion pack. There's new monsters in every one of the environments we're introducing in the expansion pack. In the Demon Web, we will encounter big surprise, some very powerful demons. We will also encounter a lot of the more powerful versions of the Drow faction, like these Driders that we're looking at here. This Drider is an all-new monster into the game. We will have male and female Driders in the expansion, whoops, joy of demos. And these here are a couple of the male Driders, which are the first ones we've gotten into the build. We think they're looking really good. We also, this isn't really any kind of final gameplay. This is just so you can get a taste of some of the monsters and how they're working. But if we go ahead and kill these guys off, we can maybe uncover a cool boss over here too, see who spawns. Whoops, more guards. Got him? All right, good. We're just cheating our way through some of these big monsters. Our character isn't leveled up enough to face anything up in this zone, as this is some of the most high-level space. But here you go. There's a nice rare red name that will appear in the demon web. This is a Garistro, which is a giant demonic minotaur, and he will be an example of a unique boss monster that you'll get to face in the demon web. That's another one that's just gotten into the build that's really fun. So there you can see that we have both monsters that are different variants on monsters that we've had in the game before. Some of those are small variations. Some of them are bigger variations, like this one that has a unique texture and a new scale and model as well, versus the Minotaurs you're used to facing. But still, it's based on the Minotaur rig, whereas then we have things like the Dryad or the Dragoloth or Dryads even, that are going to use all new models and animations and things like that in the spaces. Let's go ahead and leave here. We weren't going to beat him anyway. So skipping ahead a little bit, we're not going to show you Underdark today. Save that for a little bit later. But we would love to show it to you in a few weeks' time as we're getting ready to open up the beta. The beta is coming in May, by the way, which is really, really soon. So just 4 weeks' time or so, we will have the beta starting up for this, and players will actually get hands on keyboard and get to play around with some of the new content and the new abilities. So here we are going into one of the first dungeons that we encounter in the expansion. This quest is a dungeon in the town of Evening Star, so we haven't ventured into the forest or anything yet. It'll be one of the early things we do, gaining faction reputation with the War Wizards and the Purple Knights, who are some of the main factions that we're going to be working with in this space as we uncover the story of what's going on in Evening Star and in the Forgotten Realms. Our heroes came here on their own quest. We're here on our quest to figure out how Loth is threatening Eberron and our world, and what we can do to stop it. That is our main quest. But of course, that's our through line, but not the main thing we're doing all the time. Really, what we're doing is getting immersed in the stories that are going on here in the Forgotten Realms when we arrive. So Evening Star has its own set of stories. Evening Star is a place that used to be a pretty quiet village. It's a place that should be a pretty peaceful country town. You might imagine coming here to go hunting on the weekend or something, right? Something very pleasant next to the nice forest that's here. Unfortunately, that's not the vibe today, because we have Drow raiding parties coming up from the Underdark and attacking Evening Star. And they're doing that for a very particular reason. And that is one of the main purposes of this dungeon, aside from being a nice space and a fun quest in its own right, is to tell the stories a little bit of that backstory. So when we arrive here, we're in an underground space, but not the Underdark. This is just slightly under the surface, not all the way under the surface. This cave belongs to a coven of forest hags. forest hags are these creatures, these magical creatures that have a lot of abilities. They are a little bit like the witches in Macbeth in the way they behave, right? They have an attunement to the subconscious of others, and including each other. They complete each other's sentences. They speak in riddles. They can see a lot of things, and at the same time, they can't see all things. And so here, what we learn through the course of this dungeon is that the hags have been recruited by the drow for a particular task. The drow and Lolth and the priestesses that are leading Lolth's forces have discovered that there is an artifact out in the world called the Thread of the Weave. The thread, like the strand of the weave, right? The Thread of the Weave is a very powerful thing that is out in the world because it is a manifestation of Mystra's power. I don't know how much you know about the backstories of the Forgotten Realms or some of the novels or stories that have been told in that campaign setting. But Mystra is a very powerful figure. She's a benevolent figure who's been the queen of magic over the Forgotten Realms. Unfortunately, though, she's also been absent for a long time. Some folks think she's dead. It's not clear whether she is or isn't. But what is clear is that she's not here right now, and therefore she's not currently occupying the throne of magic over the realms. And Lolth sees an opportunity for herself to ascend to that throne, but in order to do so, she needs to capture some of Mystra's magic, and this Thread of the Weave is a way that she's going to do it. So here with the hags, do you want to go ahead and skip ahead to the next part? What we learn from the hags is that they again, speaking in riddles, giving little clues, not really telling us everything. But if we pay attention to what we learn from the hags, is that they say the Thread of the Weave is something that is known to all, but none by none at the same time. It is something everybody knows and encounters in their everyday life here in Evening Star, and at the same time, none of them realize what it is or that it is this great vessel of power. And that's just the setup, of course, for the storyline that's going to play out over the course of the adventure pack that takes place in Evening Star in the King's Forest. So that's something else to say. You know, players are used to receiving these great adventure packs from us that maybe come out every 2 months or so. So we might have 5 or 6 of them in the year. Each of those typically have 4 or 5 dungeons. Sometimes they have a wilderness. Sometimes they have a raid, right? Sometimes they have a public area. But very rarely would they have all of those things. These are like 3 very large adventure packs all together because they all have a large and substantial wilderness. They all come with new monsters. The last one has a raid. We have a new public hub here in Evening Star, and they all have more than 4 quests. So it's going to be a good amount of content, and for us an exciting opportunity to follow a story, an epic storyline all the way through. So there we got to see a mimic, which is one of the fun monsters that will appear occasionally in the game as well. Those are chests that look like chests until you try and go loot them, and of course then they try and eat your lunch instead of letting you take what's inside. Okay, so here we are back in Evening Star and walking through definitely, I have to say, a pre-alpha version of Evening Star very early on. At the same time, you can see that we've had tech upgrades, lots of great new art, even things like the grass moving as you walk through it. That's new technology. It just got in the build last week. We're so excited because it's the little things that we really love and really appreciate. But it all adds to the immersion of the players, right? You don't have to be aware that the grass is some new fancy shader in there, but it hopefully adds to your immersion in the space. We put a lot of investment into the world in particular. I spoke about those 3 adventure packs. Each of those 3 adventure packs really is a whole different environment, an environment set. Here in Evening Star in the King's Forest, that's one environment for the overworld of Faerun, or at least the section of the overworld you're going to get to walk through initially. One of the great things is we're going to get to come back and expand this world over time. Right now that we got a foothold over here in Evening Star, I'm sure we'll set off on many other adventures in the Forgotten Realms from this base. So this is just the start of the campaign for us. But so this area here in Evening Star is one environment. Another thing I would point out in the approach of how we're building it is that we're trying to build the spaces so that they are contiguous, so that we can give players more of a sense of how spaces transition from one to the other. So even though here you had to go through a teleport to go into the private instance space of the wilderness, you can see behind you the town of Evening Star and all the buildings that you saw from the other side, and likewise, and vice versa, right? So the spaces are connected to each other, even if they're separated by an instance or a teleport zone, right? So that's one of the cool things, and that'll again become more relevant as we grow the world and expand it. We have plans to keep the world connected in a lot of occasions. When we add updates, as often as we can, we will make them connected to one of the existing environments, so that you can literally walk from Evening Star to a bunch of other locations in the world over time. We're walking here through the forest. Another thing to point out as we get through the King's Forest are some new spawn mechanics that happen in our wildernesses. This is some new systems work that we have here for Menace of the Underdark. So we drew a little bit of inspiration from the pen and paper games, where even when you're on that main quest storyline, your DM, if he's doing a good job keeping things interesting, will occasionally throw at you a nice random encounter that may be just a popcorn fight. You get through it and move on, or it might turn into something more. And part of the idea is that as an adventurer, you don't really know, right? And you can sometimes go a little deeper on these side quests, and sometimes they're just quick things that are over and done with, but you don't necessarily know that they're always there. So from that, taking some inspiration from that, the wilderness areas are going to have varied encounters every time you go through them. So this area won't always have these zombies spawning out, or different areas will have drow raiding parties that come up, and sometimes when they attack, there's like a mini quest, because there'll be one drow that's trying to perform a ritual that's going to complete something, and you have to try and stop him before a time window or something will happen. Or sometimes, like you'll see here, we'll encounter some of the drow parties, many of them in fact, bring this magical darkness with them. It's called the Darkening. So the Darkening is an effect that's being felt all throughout the land of Faerun, not just here near Evening Star. Wherever the invaders are coming from the Underdark, they are bringing this new power with them called the Darkening. The drow, of course, see in the dark. They live in the dark. They have an advantage over you when they're in the dark, because you probably don't see very well in all those environments. But here again, if you manage to kill all the drow, or at least the ones that are completing the ritual for the Darkening, you'll be able to remove that magic darkness, get back to a daylight, or in fact, even if there's other drow left at that point in time, they will then suffer a blindness effect from getting hit by the bright light that they weren't expecting while they were using their dark vision ability. Cool thing about that too is that it's really a layering of what you can expect eventually as you go into the Underdark. I can't show you the Underdark today, but when you go there, you're engulfed by this same kind of very dense darkness that doesn't let you see beyond some distance or target monsters beyond some distance. So the players will be able to unlock dark vision as well in this expansion, particularly if you're a race that gets it, like the drow. You may be an Eberron drow, so you maybe haven't had a lot of practice with your dark vision abilities up until now, because you've been a surface dweller most likely. But you will remember your racial past and get dark vision here as part of this expansion. And for races who don't get that, there will be gear that you can earn partway through the content, so that you can get dark vision goggles or some other trinket or something that can provide you that same benefit. Again, as we move our way through the forest, we might see a few other encounters. There's the drow again with their darkness. Why don't we go ahead and skip forward to a different area, and we'll try and show you one of the bosses that you might see in here as well. So in the forest, again, everything has new creatures. There's a lot of nature creatures, monsters, and critters in this case for the forest. So there's some critters that are just forest critters. There's also enemies that may be neutral, like a bear or a wolf, but that will attack you, that will be aggressive towards you, as well as things like dryads, who are essentially nature-aligned beings who are mad. There's a theme here with the druids and with the dryads and other creatures like that, which is all about nature. And nature isn't very happy right now. Nature is essentially angry at the way that the forests are being ravaged and things are being destroyed. And most of that's being caused by the drow, but they can't necessarily tell whether it's the drow or us doing it. So the dryads will probably attack us too. Though as a druid, you may be able to avoid some of those things once you get your druid all the way to level. Right, so that was a deep forest environment. This is more of a hills environment. You see that there's different trees and there'll be different monsters and encounters and of course quests and points of interest that you'll find through these spaces. But they're quite substantial and there's a nice variety of environments. For those players that know DDO, this is unlike any environment we've had in the game. These trees, we've gone through a lot of effort to get some new tech in the game so that we can make new trees. We think they look really fabulous. We're still waiting to get some new tech that completes this, where you're going to get some great movement and animation in the trees as well. Again, just adding to the immersion and the richness of the world. This is our first true dense forest environment, and we're really happy with how it's coming out.
It's quite stunning to see, as someone who played DDO near launch and was in game actively when the first wilderness area came out, and remembering that, which was much more sparse than this, and now seeing how far you've taken it, it's quite outstanding.
Yeah, well, we keep evolving the game, and like I said, we keep upgrading the tech, and Menace of the Underdark is a great example of how we do that. We key off certain major releases. This release, I mentioned some of the graphics improvements already. There's also underlying technology for things like physics and animation and scripting. Some of that is just for performance. Some of that lets us create new kinds of quest content that we're not trying to put it in the player's face. Why we need the tech, of course. It's under behind the scenes stuff. But it's a significant investment, and at the same time we keep evolving things. So like when you walk through the water, you see the rippling in the water and things like that. That's from our DX11 graphics that we've implemented. Our graphics engine is always one of the things we take a lot of pride in. We keep improving and we keep making it better year after year. We're a 6-year-old game, but I think we go toe to toe with some of the new games in terms of how we look when you crank up the settings. Too much darkness. Are you having luck finding the spot, Eric? So we're trying to find one of the big bosses that you will encounter, but we don't know where he's roamed off to. So let's see what it is. I'll spoil the surprise a little bit and tell you about him while we look. We are looking for a green dragon who is out here in the forest. So, of course, we being Dungeons and Dragons, we take special care and love with our dragons, and we wouldn't feel good about doing an expansion without introducing a few new dragons into the game. So we have an all-new type of dragon in the green dragon. Of course, oh, there he is off in the distance. And wouldn't you know it, he's got drow friends. There's the green dragon. So this is an all-new type of dragon in the game. The green dragons, of course, in D&D are poison creatures. If he was a black dragon, he would have acid powers, blue dragon, electric, red, fire, etc. The green one brings poison, which we also thought was a fitting choice, firstly because he's new to the game, and secondly because there's a lot of things going on with poison here in Menace of the Underdark. This expansion will bring a lot more relevance to poison again. As I tell folks on the team when we're talking about it, it's about time that players were fearful of poison again. Since probably about level 6 or 7 you figured out how to take care of it and you haven't been. Well, now you're get ready to be scared of new kinds of poison and find new ways to deal with it. Things like this dragon, things like new spiders, and of course Lolth and the Driders and the Drow all have some poison abilities related to them. Not always, but it's one of the things that permeates the expansion. So here we're fighting a dragon. We probably wouldn't be doing very well against this dragon right now, soloing him, but we will eventually, like the rest of the game today. We intend to make everything in the expansion soloable, with the exception of the raid. So except for the raid, you will be able to solo the wildernesses, even some of these dragon fights, though they will be pretty tough. So hopefully you are well prepared. You might need a hireling or two at your back, but you'll be able to solo. So that's pretty much a taste of some of the things that we have to show you. Happy to talk about a few other things, show off a few more druid abilities maybe. Maybe we should do that. So one thing to talk about with the druid is, of course, shape-shifting. So here's a druid shifting into a wolf. That's a animal shape, a wild shape that we had revealed before that was coming for the druid. We're actually today revealing that we will have 3 lines of animal shape or wild shapes for the druid. Actually, the first is the wolf, and we have also a bear line, which we can't quite show you right now. And then lastly we have an elemental line. Where you can turn yourself into a fire or water elemental, and the way these shape shifting works is that you're able to it's a tactical choice at a given point in time in the battle, right? It's a way to focus on certain aspects of your abilities as a druid. If you want to focus on doing melee damage, for example, you probably want to be in one of your wolf forms. If you want to be tanking and absorbing a lot of damage, you probably want to be in one of your bear forms. There's a base form of a bear, and then there's a dire bear where you get higher level, which is a little bit better at DR and things like that. The wolf form, the higher level form, is this winter wolf that has some ice spells and things like that. And then the fire and air elementals that you can also turn yourself into are things that will enhance some of your casting abilities and your elemental magic, of course. So all these things may increase the certain abilities and improve them. So, your fire spells might get more powerful when you're a fire elemental, for example. But at the same time, it might lock out certain abilities, so you won't be able to cast your ice spells when you're a fire elemental as well. And that's true of the animal form. So again, it's a tactical choice depending on what you think you're going to be doing at each moment in the battle or in your role in the party. Cool. So those again are some of the big things we can show you. They do have the druids are also really cool because they have a wolf pet that they bring with them everywhere, and a very complete spell book, a very versatile class. They have a whole suite of spells around nature's magic, again elemental focus spells and things like that. But then they also have a whole suite of healing spells. So they're nearly as powerful healers as a favorite soul or a cleric, even though they're very powerful casters as well, and have some versatility with melee with the animal forms. So they're a really cool class that can play many traits. And something else that's cool is that you don't have to buy Menace of the Underdark to play a druid. So the druids are available either through purchase of some of the Menace of the Underdark bundles or for members of our VIP program with the monthly subscription. So if you're somebody that's coming new to the game and you're not sure whether you're going to get to the level 20 part of the game, you can subscribe as a VIP, and then that'll give you full access to pretty much all the content from level 1 to 20, and you'll be able to play all of that, play your druid, get him close to level, and as you're approaching level 20 and you're itching to go to Forgotten Realms, you can buy the expansion when the time is right for you.
And for non-subscribers, available in the cash shop or no?
It will be available in the DDO store, but not initially. So actually, that's true of all the features of the expansion. We've said that before, and we've even posted the prices, though I don't have them top of mind, but we can get them to you. Because we want players to have all the information possible, right? We're not trying to trick anybody by what we're doing. We're just trying to offer certain sets of choices. So at the initial release, on June 25th, when Menace of the Underdark comes live, you will be able to either buy it through an expansion bundle or become a VIP to go in. But with update 14, which is the next major update that's going to be coming basically 2 months after Menace of the Underdark, or I'm hoping a little bit less, you'll be able to buy it in the DDO store at that point in time. That's true of the 3 adventure packs that make up the expansion as well. You'll be able to buy those in the store, as well as the challenge pack and a few other features that we haven't quite announced yet. But some of the features of the expansion, initially you'll either have to buy the expansion or in some cases get them as a VIP. But eventually, with update 14, most of that stuff will be available a la carte in the DDO store.
Thank you so much for that look. I'm really excited. It really looks amazing. The new Druid class, I know that's something we talked about on our podcast. We're very excited about that. Lots of really cool stuff. What has you excited? What are you going to do the minute that expansion launches?
Well, although I am super excited for the Druid and I'm itching to roll out my Druid, I have to say I'm most excited about going into epic levels and going to the Forgotten Realms. I have a couple capped characters in DDO at this point, just itching to get forward and keep advancing and keep getting new gear and all that sort of good stuff. So the level capped at 25, going to epic levels for the first time, unlocking an all new advancement system with epic destinies, that's going to be really great. So I think that's something to look forward to.
That sounds like fun, and I can't wait to get into game myself. So thank you very much, Fernando, and we'll see the game on June 25th.